We're hearing heart-wrenching stories tonight from relatives who say the cemetery they trusted, Beaches Memorial Park, tried to rip them off and left them traumatized.
The I-Team has also learned the cemetery's license is expired. Investigator Jennifer Waugh uncovered these cemetery nightmares.
What should have been a peaceful goodbye to Johnny Mae Jones turned into a fiasco for her family. Her grave had not been dug when they arrived at the cemetery in Atlantic Beach.
We've never in my life have encountered anything like this.
Celestine Jones says John Ray, an owner of Beaches Memorial Park, greeted them, delivering surprising news.
It had rained so much that the ground was too wet and that she would have to be buried in stages. So now, father-in-law, married for 62 years, has to come back again to relive his wife's death. Who wants to do that?
The family insisted the burial happen right then. As the bulldozer started digging, they couldn't believe what they saw.
This ground is not wet.
Jones shot this video on her cell phone.
This is the dirt. Now this is what he was saying, where it was wet. And as you can see, this dirt is dry. It's very, very dry.
Now the family was suspicious, so they insisted on seeing the vault they bought to bury their 77-year-old mother's casket inside.
This vault has cracks in it. It's not what we ordered. It's supposed to be a sealed vault. This is an unsealed vault because it has holes in the bottom of it.
Do you think that he would have buried then your mom in a broken vault that wouldn't have even been sealed correctly?
Absolutely.
Jones and her husband say they think the cemetery owner was trying to rip off their family by using a damaged and chipped vault instead of buying a new one, and made up the story about wet ground to get rid of the family.
How much money are we talking about did this cost, roughly?
It's either $5,200 to $5,500, because initially the price was $48,000. But by the time it got there to actually pay him, he increased the price more, going on and on about this closed vault that needed to be paid for.
A vault, they say, that didn't even have a lid to seal it.
This is where we are now, 2.5 hours after the service. It's unacceptable.
The family called police, and the owner finally agreed to entomb Johnny Mae Jones in the mausoleum. But it took more than 5 hours. They say a worker had to go to the hardware store to get the materials needed to do it.
I was telling him, I said, do you understand that you have to have some type of humility, some type of grace when it comes to dealing with people's family and their loved ones?
And what did he say? How did he respond to you saying that to him?
That's basically what he said.
No apology?
No, not once.
No sensitivity?
Not a small bit.
Horrific. If I had one word to sum it up, it would be horrific.
Pastor Eric Jackson says his family never received an apology either.
When we get there at 12:30, nothing is prepared. They're racing around. The gate is latched when we get there.
His Aunt Lily Bell's burial also had been scheduled and paid for days in advance.
We had a copy of the contract with us, because it's clear as day. He wrote 12:30. He gave no excuse. Only thing he wanted us to do was put our mobile devices up and stop recording the actions that were going on.
It gets worse.
And as they were letting the casket down, he did not seal the casket, and the casket was coming open. And we kept sharing with him, hey, John, the casket is coming open. He was assuring us that it was not coming open.
Look closely. You can see right there in the middle of the casket, it is clearly open.
My concern, at that point is, had we not been there, would you have just dumped my relative in this vault, pulled out this casket, and used it on another one of your own services?
I'm Jennifer Waugh with Channel 4.
We went to get some answers last Friday from John Rayan, owner of Beaches Memorial Park.
There are people who say that you have been very unprofessional and unethical in the way that you've handled their funerals and their burials. Is there anything you have to say about that?
No, I haven't been.
We followed him as he kept walking away, asking him about the Jones and Jackson burials.
Sir, do you have anything to say to these families? I mean, they're traumatized. Are you even apologetic?
Yeah.
You are? Well, now's your opportunity to apologize.
I'm not going to be filmed.
You don't have anything to say to these families?
Yes, but I'm not going to be bombarded like that. That's very rude.
These are all of the complaints that we have received ever since we started airing stories about Beaches Memorial Park 4 weeks ago. And these are pictures of loved ones who paid for graveside markers so that their families could come and see where they're buried. $2,300, $2,995, $795, $290. Yet these family members say that their calls are being ignored and that the owner of the cemetery doesn't seem to care if their loved one rests in peace.
Right here, top left.
Al Bourgeois points to where his mother's name should be written, marking the crypt where she was entombed last November. His family paid $2,995 in January for a nameplate. 5 months later, they still don't have it. Bourgeois says John Rayan with Beaches Memorial Park and First Coast Funeral Home has given him nothing but excuses.
It should be here on the 27th. I said, okay, so 27th of March, I came to visit him. He's not here, not returning phone calls. He told my father, him and my sister came here and said that it will be here by Mother's Day.
That never happened either, and he says they keep getting the runaround.
Oh, it's on a truck. It'll be here in the next few days.
And when was this?
This was right after Mother's Day.
That was a month ago, and still no nameplate and no answers. Dolores Craig's family is also looking for answers about her graveside marker.
He come walking up and he says, it's been FedExed out. It was FedExed out on May 10th. It's still not here.
Christy Sharp says her family paid $7,648 for their mother's service February 12th, a price that included a graveside marker. More than 3 months later, flowers and these balloons are all that mark her final resting place.
He doesn't give you an excuse. If he gives you, and if he does, it's, you know, I'm sorry. I've just been overloaded with work. I've had to work out of town. I've had other services to do.
Eugenio Puenco's family says they've also heard nothing but excuses for 2 years from Beaches Memorial Park about why the bench he bought from the cemetery has not been delivered to his gravesite at Arlington Park Cemetery. We spoke to his daughter on the phone from New York.
You know, he wanted us to sit there and be comfortable and just always taking care and looking out for everybody. He was like the most selfless person I think I knew.
Maria Curcio has the contract her father signed showing he paid $400 for a bench. His children paid an additional $395 to put his picture on the bench. Arlington Park Cemetery emailed Maria Curcio a month ago asking if they could just pick up the bench from the Atlantic Beach Cemetery. Curcio says that she still, though, has not received a response from Beaches Memorial Park.
My father suffered so much before he passed away, and we suffered with him. And it feels like it's not resolved. It feels like we haven't been able to put this to rest.
Neither has Jose Samante's family. They were told last July it would take 6 to 8 weeks to have Samante's name inscribed on the Veterans Memorial Wall at the Atlantic Beach Cemetery. They paid $290 for the inscription and say it still had not been done when they visited in March, 8 months later. Lola Mae Terry's family still has the receipt they say John Rayan signed when they paid $500 3 months ago for a marker to be placed at their mother's grave. They are still waiting for delivery.
He just covers lies to cover lies and see how far he can get to it, you know, without doing restitution.
Al Bourgeois says the stress of fighting for his mother's nameplate has not only taken a toll on his father, but now his family has other questions.
I have siblings that want to know if my mom's even in the mausoleum. If he doesn't put a nameplate on there, maybe people think it'll go away and it'll resell that same spot.
Al Bourgeois has now hired an attorney because of what happened to his mother and is now suing the cemetery.
We're trying to get answers to why this local woman's father was not cremated after his death in May, and why days went by before she was told her father's rotting body was found last week inside this local funeral home. Well, Lynn Simon now has her father's ashes after a nightmare ordeal that started when her dad died, and she paid First Coast Funeral Home to cremate his remains in May.
The inspector who discovered her father's badly decomposed body in a broken refrigerator last week delivered his ashes to Simon this afternoon. 68 days after Burton Acker died. Simon was not happy, as you heard her say yesterday when she spoke to I-Team investigator Jennifer Waugh, explaining no one from the state called her last Thursday. She learned her father's remains had been found by watching News 4 Jax and says she had to call the state twice to get confirmation.
Jen was there today to get some answers from the inspector who discovered Mr. Acker's body.
Can you tell me, though, why you didn't call the family last Thursday when you found the body?
I can't answer that.
Why not? Don't you believe that she believes that she needs the answer to that?
I can't.
What about not calling law enforcement? You're right, but it's a criminal investigation. Why didn't you call law enforcement?
It's an active investigation. I can't discuss it.
But it's a criminal investigation, and you don't do criminal work. Sir, what is the state doing to protect consumers from this cemetery? Are you driving back to Tallahassee now?
Even though the cemetery's license has not been valid since January 1st, the state is still allowing burials to happen here and has still not disciplined the owner for failing to renew that license. Jennifer Waugh, Channel 4, the local station. These families have been telling us that someone here needs to go to jail, and today we were here when that happened.
Mr. Ray, is there anything that you would like to say to the people that say that you have broken their hearts with everything that's happened here?
They got what they wanted.
And what's that mean?
Jail.
Do you think that you should go to jail?
I didn't do anything. It's not my business.
What about,
I told you this.
What about all of the markers that were ordered months ago and still aren't here?
It's not my business, ma'am.
How is it not your business?
It's not.
Your
company.
wife runs this. Of course, it's your wife.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you explain yourself?
I'm not I don't have a master in business, so I don't have the knowledge or background that requires to run a cemetery. I don't.
But you have been meeting with everyone who has come in and taken their money and not provided services.
I've deposited into a business account, ma'am.
But you haven't provided the services, sir.
I didn't know how to.
You don't know how to provide the services? When someone brings you money, pays you for a headstone or for a marker or a crypt plate?
Rayan appears to faint, but sits up a few minutes later. Rescue makes sure he's okay. While he didn't have anything more to say, his family did.
The equipment is broke down, and nobody helps.
Is that a reason to take money from people and not deliver services?
That's not true.
Then how do you explain these markers that are still not here, that were ordered and here in Jacksonville?
How about when he gave that lady you first aired 2 plots and a wall?
Because the grave was not dug when they arrived. Ma'am, is that an excuse to treat people this way?
$1,400, and it costs $2,000 or $3,000 to get buried now. When they prenup, you don't understand.
What is it that I'm not understanding, ma'am? Do you know how many families have called the station complaining about what's happened to them? How do you explain that? Heartbroken families who say that their family loved ones have been disgraced.
Doesn't come in when they've been operating all this time.
Are you saying they're in financial problems?
You know it.
Go! We don't. No,
You're
go.
a witch hunt.
Don't.
God,
film it.
Please do not touch our equipment. We're leaving.
Film it. Go.
Please do not touch our equipment, but we are leaving.
God will punish you for this.
Go.
107 calls, ma'am. 107 calls.
Good. You shouldn't be in our business.
So the owner of the cemetery and the funeral home here, who is John Rayan's wife, Amanda Rayan, has not been anywhere near here today. We've certainly been looking for her for comment. Every time we have brought our viewers stories about what's been happening here, we have always reached out to the owner and to the manager, her husband, John Rayan, for comment. Only once did they ever respond to our calls.
Miss Rayan, what do you say to families who accuse you and your husband of disgracing the dead? What did you do with all the money? You told me you ordered the headstones. Where are they?
In the car.
What do you say to them, ma'am? You cause terrible, terrible pain to these families. How do you respond?
Can you get away from me?
Do you not have anything to say to all these families?
Watch your head.
Amanda Rayan is on her way to jail. She's accused of forging signatures to get death certificates so her cemetery and funeral businesses could keep getting paid to perform burials and cremations. Her husband, Nader, used to manage Beaches Memorial Park and First Coast Funeral Home in Atlantic Beach until he was arrested 2 months after we talked with several families who say they paid him for headstones that were never delivered.
Nader Rain is free on bond right now. He was an hour late to his arraignment hearing. Among the charges filed against his wife is schemes to defraud. It carries a sentence of 30 years in prison if convicted. Jennifer Waugh, Channel 4, the local station.